Welcome to the Time In Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Time In Podcast. Can you believe we've actually reached episode 40? Craig, how you doing this week?
I'm not bad, my friend. Thank you for having me for 40 episodes. I didn't think we'd be here, mate, but we are, so we've survived.
Well, we said that at 20, to be fair. This week, we're very lucky to be joined by guests, Robin and Andrew from Coul Brewing. How you doing, folks?
Hi. We are doing well. Thank you for having us for special number 40. I
know. It kind of crept up on us because we stopped writing down the number, and then when you start writing again, Jesus, have we done that many? I thought we could start with Robin and Andrew telling us a bit about Coul Brewing and your role within the company, if that's okay.
Go ahead. No, you can do it.
All right.
It's your brainchild.
It's my brainchild. Yeah, we're a small independent family-run nano brewery, actually. We're not even really a microbrewery, based in Glenrothes in Fife in Scotland. We started building the brewery in about 2017, took about a year to build, and we've been operating successfully with successful growth now for about 3 years, up to about 20,000 bottles we produced last year.
Wow.
And we do it all from a domestic garage on the side of the house.
I rate that.
I have to be honest, I've actually seen it. I have actually went past it. I've got friends that stay up that way, and I have actually seen it. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. I have almost just spilt a full Spectrum all over me.
I was going to say, we maybe need to mention that first. What are you drinking, Craig?
So I'm starting off with Full Spectrum, which is an absolute cracker. Slange, guys. I absolutely adore stouts, sort of darker spirits. I worked for Guinness for a little while, and I absolutely adore this. It's so chocolatey, but it's also quite nutty as well. And I don't know why, it might just be me. I've got more of a sort of whiskey palate, but I get a bit of smokiness from it.
Yeah, I don't know where it comes from, but I get that too. Smokiness there.
I think that.
There's a lot of roasted barley in it. I think it comes from that.
It smells incredible. It's nice to see a stout porter as well, rather than just a traditional stout.
Do you know the difference?
Enlighten me before I embarrass myself.
Stouts purely just have roasted malts in them. Porters generally have crystal malts in them as well.
Right.
So stout porters have both in them, but if it was like a purely dry Irish stout, it wouldn't have any crystal malts in it. So there's a bit of sweetness there from the crystal malts.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's absolutely lovely. I know this is a random question as well. Is there any sort of coffee in there?
Nope.
Because I don't know why, but I get that sort of essence. It's probably because
there's a lot of chocolate malt in it, which is has a very coffee-like flavour to it. In fact, actually, in some countries in Central America, they use it as a decaffeinated coffee substitute.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Pretty similar.
What about you, Ewan? Because the guys aren't... the first guests that we've had on and aren't drinking, and it has to be brewers, doesn't it?
To be fair, in their defence, they said it's because they're driving later for work, so it's in the name of beer. It's still for a good cause, I would say. None of this, I need to pick somebody up for the airport, carry on. I have got Baby Badger. Yep.
That was our first beer.
Was that your first, was it?
Was that the first one? Jeez. So this is like the flagship then?
Yeah, it's a good, honest, quaffing session pale ale. Yeah.
We originally had even before we started as a sort of commercial brewery, our first one was Rockdranic IPA, which translates as Snarling Badger, and it was a lot stronger. And before we had sort of launched the brewery, we got invited to the Camera Real Ale Festival for Fife. We got invited to put in like a competition beer. So we thought, 6% is maybe a bit strong, so we made the Baby Badger, the sort of lighter version, and entered that. And what did we win? Third place with our inaugural beer. So that was quite a surprise. So
when you hear about beers, you would think it's an iterative process. So the fact you got third place and first crack, that's very impressive.
Well, to be fair, I had about 20 years of homebrewing experience under my belt before I went.
There you go.
I started when I was about 17, before I was old enough to drink the bloody stuff, I think.
And I have to say that
encouraged by a very enthusiastic father. So
I think that's where a lot of people's love of beer comes from, to be honest. And it's I find what happens, we spoke about this before, is your dad typically would drink a stout or a heavy, and then you go in at the lager level and you need to work your way up. I've not quite reached stouts and porters yet. I can't like Craig said, I gave the extra. So I ordered a box of 12, 2 of each beer from your range. I gave 6 to my dad, and an independent review. He loves them all. He finished them before I'd even got started on them.
Oh,
But
brilliant.
I gave him the port stout or stout porter that Craig has.
Well done, Ewan.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's okay. We can
Ah,
edit. We can
I've
edit
messed
heavily.
Before you started this, Ewan.
One of the days at work, But what I will say is I love the packaging in them all. I love like the sort of design of the label in them all as well. They're all pretty cool. They're all nice and bright.
I need to ask before Ewan interjects that I love branding and all this sort of thing. I've done it for a long time. What do the names mean? There must be meaning behind the names, because I have tried to work it out like nothing else, and I'm like, what is it?
They're just they come to argument and
yes, names is the worst part because there's 5 of us. Andrew, his brother Martin, who designs all the labels, my mum and my dad. You try to have a collective process to come up with names that are deep and meaningful, and all you do is fight. Fight like that. I don't like that. So a lot of these names were picked about 5 minutes before the labels needed to go to print. The baby badger came from the original snarling badger because it was a weaker version, so it was a baby, and then so that stayed as baby badger. Source code just came from a random one we had on the list because we liked the kind of matrix vibe.
The original snarling badger.
Yeah, very similar.
Is it? Okay.
Yes, it is. You can taste it. It's source code. Yeah.
Yeah. So that we quite just. I don't know how we came up with it. It was just on a list, and so we went with sort of the kind of matrix vibe on, as you see on the label. 80s revival because 80 shillings traditionally are like an older beer.
Yeah.
We have a lot of customers going, oh, my dad drank that, my granddad drank that. We wanted to sort of bring it back and make it a bit more popular. Going,
it's a beer I grew up drinking. I used to drink a lot of it in some of the well-renowned pubs in Edinburgh that used to serve it, places like the Athletic Arms Diggers.
Yeah, yeah.
Bill Mathers as well, which isn't there anymore. And they used to have competitions, and they were constantly trying to outdo each other to serve the best pint of 80. And I remember it back then as a lovely drink, and you still get it to like some extent these days, but it's not the drink it was back then. And that's why I tried to recreate a really malty, really nice 80 shilling like I remembered.
See,
is that like a dark heavy beer then? Would that be classed as a dark beer?
Yeah, I would say it's a dark beer. Yeah, I mean, it's predominantly malt driven. There's not very much hops in it.
This might be the first dark beer I've actually enjoyed because that so far that's my favourite out of all of them that I've tried, and I didn't know what an 80 shilling ale was because I've never even seen it or heard of it before.
Yeah, it comes from the old tax structure for beer. It was the amount.
Really?
Yeah, you get 60 shillings, 80 shillings, 70 shillings. You sometimes get 90 shillings as well.
Yeah.
And it's the amount of tax they used to pay on a barrel.
Jeez, well, there you go. Every time we do a beer episode, I think it's just a good reason to go have a drink when we're recording this, but actually you end up learning stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's why like a 90 shillings is really, really strong, and then like a 60 shillings quite weak, because it's all tax. Yeah.
Oh, no, well, I enjoyed that. It's toffee notes in it, isn't it?
Yeah, there's, like I said, there's about 6 different kinds of malt in it, and a lot of them are quite toffee and caramelly malts. Yeah. And I think that's good.
What for you two? What's your favourite beer from the range, if you had to pick?
I like them all, but I think if I had to pick, it's probably Source Code or Empress. I do like the hoppier.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's my picks as well.
I like the 80s revival. Yeah, I like the lot more sweetness. The sort of caramel, butterscotchy flavours. That's what I quite like.
I think that's like a dessert. After you have your dinner, you don't need a dessert. Just get one of them. It's just a nice end of meal drink, I would say.
Yeah. It's interesting, Craig, you said about you like stouts. Stouts are very on trend at the moment. We're actually planning a few stouts in the future that are probably sweeter as well, and that sort of style. Like almost dessert beers, strong and sweet.
You're just teasing me, Andrew. You need to stop this.
Well, we've got one with chocolate and morello cherries, like a Black Forest Gatto stout that we want to do.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, that might be a stout I'll need to try.
It's really strange for me because with the range, my favourites are, I can't decide between Source Code and Emperor's. The first one I actually tried was Emperor's, and I was doing a show at the Bauhaus, and you guys were there, and it was a friend of mine who works for a whiskey distillery, and they says, have you tried this stuff? It's actually from Glenrothes, and I may as well disclose this now. It was my hometown, and I was like, "There's a brewery in the Glenrothes," and I tried it, and I seen the logo, and I spoke to one of your colleagues, and it was really funny because obviously it's the Swan, and obviously it's about Coul Reservoir traditionally. Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, Coul Reservoir is absolutely gorgeous, but it has the nastiest bastard swans you've ever met in your life. Like you
That is
do.
exactly where it came from.
That's exactly where it comes from. Yeah.
It'll break your arm, that swan.
It's a tribute to the little gits.
These are not normal swans. These are hard swans. These are swans you do not mess with. But
It will come at you, this swan. Yep. It's not scared.
But I tried Emperors for the first time, and it blew me away. As much as obviously it is your strongest percentage, isn't it? What is it, 6.8? Is that right? Memory serves. But I don't really notice that within the drink. I find it actually quite refreshing to drink as a beer itself. And then I just feel as though Source is maybe an even lighter version of that, to be fair. But between the two of them, I absolutely adore them. I love your Full Spectrum as well, but I feel as though they're the two standouts for me. But the general consensus when I've been speaking to people, because I've not only had the privilege of drinking your beer quite a lot, but I've also had the privilege to work for businesses that have sold your beer, and I've managed to speak to consumers, and the general consensus of people is that 80s Revival is the big point of difference for you guys. I don't know if you've had similar feedback or...
Yeah, 80s Revival is probably our best-selling most popular beer. We find even the customers who say like perhaps like you and go, I don't normally drink a dark beer. I don't like darker beers. Well, just try this. It's sort of like a gateway dark beer because it's still got a really good taste to it, but it's not like as black as a Guinness.
Yeah.
We also find a lot of our sort of women drinkers really enjoy that as well. I think it must be to do with the sweetness as well.
Yeah.
And there's sort of a lot of introductory brewers because it's not got too much of a bitter taste to it. It's not got a lot of that hoppy flavour, which I think if you're not, I'd say, a beer drinker might put you off. So it's just a good entry beer. So it's definitely probably our best seller. We're out of stock of it at the moment as well.
Well, that was something. There you go, Ewan.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think gateway beer is the perfect way to describe it because I had never tried an 80 shilling ale or a shilling ale at all, and then heavies are just something that, or stouts and porters or something that I'm just kind of dipping my toe in the water with. There's some of them that I think are okay, but this I enjoyed this. If I was going to get a keg of any of the beers, that's what I would get a keg of, 100%. Sorry, what were you saying, Craig?
No, I was just going to say that, see the range as a whole, I feel as though it's just really well balanced, that you guys haven't only got zesty numbers, you've got chocolatey stout numbers. Do you know what I mean? There's a really good balance, and I think I'll never name names, but for example, Ewan and I went to a brewery, a Scottish brewery, and they're trying to be that really edgy way, which I can understand because a lot of sales from beer comes from design, etc., especially with the craft beer movement, which happened maybe 5 years ago now at its peak, give or take. And it's nice to not have something thrown in your face. Like, they do things like chocolate mousse beer and stuff, and it's just too much. Do you know what I mean? It loses it's no longer a beer, it's became almost something else. And I think you guys have got that balance down to a T, to not only have great beers, but they're still really interesting as well. Like, Ewan and I had this argument before, like, you speak to a lager drinker, which there's nothing wrong with, but you've just tipped your toes in the water. Do you know what I mean? You've only scratched the surface, in my opinion, and it's so good to actually be able to get the range as a whole and just play about with it all. Like the example Ewan said is like trying out 80s, never had a chilling beer before. It's just, you've just got a really nice setup. The only thing I would, if I could ask for any, if you could do a red ale. A red ale. I know yous are playing about with it. I'd love to see a red ale.
You mean like a hoppy red?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a couple of recipes already for that I've done as a home brewer that might surface commercially. Yeah.
Well, one of my questions was going to be, what has Coul got in the pipeline for future? Are you allowed to allude to it? Are you allowed to mention some possible things?
Traditionally, the beginning of the year is normally a quieter period for us after Christmas, but January, February this year has been absolutely mental. It's just been summer last year.
But you can't get to the pub. What other option you got, you know?
But I've got some trial recipes coming up that are just small amounts to try some new recipes. Ones I mentioned is the like a cherry and chocolate stout, slightly sweetened with lactose. I want to try like get the flavour of Black Forest Gatto. So in a stout. We're doing hopefully doing a collaboration with a local coffee roaster as well. So we're looking at doing probably in a stout again, some sort of coffee, either a sweet dessert coffee stout. We thought about maybe pairing it with walnut, like a coffee and walnut stout as well. I've got plans to do another New England IPA as well. I mean, as much as I like Emperors, I wasn't really able to go all out with it with some like the yeast I was using and some of the more expensive hops. So I'm going to do one that's it'll probably be the higher end, price range, but it'll be super spectacular. Fingers crossed. And the plan is as well with all these new things that are probably more of the edgier, craftier thing rather than more traditional. Is it's going to go in cans because we invested last year into small hand canning line, so we'll be hopefully putting this stuff in cans.
That gets the time and seal of approval. We love a can. See the noise of a can opening. That should be our opening intro sound. 100%. Love a can.
There are certain beer styles that definitely benefit from being in a can because they're not prone to oxidization. I mean, oxide, they lose the hop flavor sometimes.
Yeah.
And you put it in a can, it's like that to crack it open.
Yeah.
So what's important for us is to have a range of beers. That's why we've sort of gone with the 6 that we've got just now to sort of cover a good range. And for those who like more of a traditional beer in a bottle and still be able to offer that to people, as well as doing some more sort of different things, maybe smaller runs in cans.
Insane hop gravy.
No, we're not calling it that.
That's a pretty good name. You have to. I mean, Insane hop gravy. If I seen that sitting on the shelf, I'd have to ask myself.
Andrew,
like
say it just before.
Just
say it just before the labelling process, and you're in there, mate. Don't worry. You'll get it. That seems to be the way. So, I was going to actually ask Robin, because I know you deal with more the sort of marketing side, and I don't know how we kind of dwell into that route. But how did you find launching the range and the brand as a whole? Did you kind of keep it local at first, or what was the kind of process there?
Yeah. As we said, we are a really small microbrewery. We're in a single garage, so we knew from the start that we wanted to go really slowly. There was no point in us going really crazy with heavy marketing to try and target, UK wide, knowing that we just couldn't make it quick enough if the orders were there, and that's the problem that we have seen for quite a while. We usually see it at Christmas. The first Christmas we sold out, and we thought, great, well, we'll start in September and we'll make loads of beer. Second Christmas we sold out. Third Christmas, and we're right, we're going to be really good this time, and we're going to be on top of it. Starting August, starting July, and still sold it out. We're lucky that we've been able to build a really good following from the start. So even before our tanks were here, and before the brewery was fully commissioned, we had our Facebook page, our social media, so people could follow us building it, just so people know that we are a real brewery. There's real people here. It's not run by robots. We're not 2,000 staff who don't know the names of their customers. It was important to us to be transparent and really personal, that folk know that we're a local brewery. We can drop it off to you. You can come and pick it up in normal times. And that was really important to us. So we launched the first 4. We got a great feedback from that, and then
what were the first 4? Sorry,
the first 4 were the Baby Badger, Source Code, the 80s Revival, and the Full Spectrum.
Okay.
And then Emperor's New Clothes came in March 2019. We were heading to a trade show, so we decided to make something new.
What's that at Bauhaus? Because I think that's the time I tried it. Was it Bauhaus you launched it?
No, we were at. Well, that was our sort of first public launch of it.
Right,
and
okay.
Before that, we were at the where were we? The Scottish Speciality Trade Show, which is a lot of sort of shops and retail buyers. And then we launched it to the public at the Bauhaus. And then Lager actually came March last year, March 2020. It feels so long ago now.
That's madness, isn't it? That's absolutely crazy when you say that.
We launched it at the Kirkcaldy Food and Drink Festival they do in the college, and they have a lot of guest chefs. And I think the guy who won MasterChef a few times has been there. So that was to try and launch it to the people, get everyone tasting it. And then the week before that, all of this happened, and so the lager never actually got its proper big launch day. And to be honest, it's been pretty much sold out ever since. Even with the quiet launch, it's gone down really well. We've got a lot of hauls out of that. That was one thing that we used to get asked for quite a lot, is when we had the sort of more IPA range. Everyone goes, "Oh, if you've got a lager, what? If you've got a lager? Oh, my husband only drinks lager. What's the next closest to a lager?"
That's what I was going to touch on. I was going to ask more about the hospitality side, because as much as we're situated in Fife is lovely, by the way, guys. Right, Fife is a lovely place. It can be It can be quite traditional, and I find, for example, certainly your hospitality market, it's quite difficult to convert that mindset from your traditional lager drinkers and stuff. And I was going to just ask, how did you find kind of launching it more into the hospitality side? Did you find a lot of people were quite on board? Did you find that it's been a little more challenging? Because I've been there myself. I know how difficult it is to launch a new product in the hospitality and try change that mindset. Do you know what I mean?
I think we've been quite lucky. As I say, we haven't gone really heavy. So the customers, sort of retail or hospitality customers that we approached, have all been quite receptive to it and have known us as a brand from our other products. I do have to say that more sort of the traditional ales, the 80 shilling, and then the Baby Badger, as a sort of like easy drinking beer, they've gone down quite well, sort of on trade. But everything has been very well received in the sort of shop department. So we've been very, very lucky that way, that we've managed to sort of build a relationship with more of these customers. That's really helped push the beer. And they've been sort of receptive to trying new things that we're bringing out. So that's something that's really nice for us, is that our retail customers actually want to try new things and want to give them a go.
Yeah, I'm not lying when the amount of people who have spoke to me, obviously I can't name the name of the place of work, but we sold it over Christmas. We had a temporary license, and we done a lot of local products, and to be honest, some were hit or a miss, but the Coul Brewing, we, like I said, anytime we brought it in, sold out. And it was the same scenario. You guys couldn't make it quick enough. It was the case of anytime you got it, we'll take it. And you would not believe the amount of people that have came back and said, where can I buy this stuff? So I just hope and pray, because you guys deserve it, that more local businesses don't take the easy options. Don't go to your likes of your Tenants and your Bellhavens, but actually look out and see what's around you as well, and get behind local brands. Because people like to talk about gin, but let's be honest, a lot of gin distillers are not making the spirit itself. We all know how this works. And it's just great to see that you guys are doing the process from start to finish, and you're really honest about it. Like, you like to say, look, this is who we are. Like you, the example you said about, we're not a big massive chain, we've not got 2,000 staff. This is our process start to finish, and this is what we want to do. We just want to make great beer. So I just pray, I don't know by any chance if any Fife businesses are listening to this, please, please, please check out Coul. Check them out.
I think people are generally quite receptive to local businesses, especially when it comes to beer. I think a lot of people are happy to support a local beer. It's just getting out there and getting the recognition that you're actually there in the first instance. And even we spoke about this last week, Craig, with Jordan. If you think about the single best beer you've ever had, it's almost always a local beer on location. So, for example, just the typical example, a Guinness in Ireland, a Stipramen in Prague. You know, there has to be something for Scotland. Why not a Coul beer? Why not? I mean, something local, something that comes from that place. That's the way I think of it.
Coul beer when you're wrestling a swan.
Wow.
That's
using the bottle to fight off a cliff.
I'm going to take you to see this swan, Ewan, honestly. But
I don't know if I want to see it.
Sorry, I'll let you crack on, mate. Sorry.
What's the reservoir? Steroids.
It's only about a quarter of a mile away. Bring in the brewery afterwards.
Oh, Jesus. It could be the
Sign
mascot.
Sign me up. We did say we need to get out to brewery as soon as we're allowed. We're going to do this on site. We want to go see breweries and go speak to people on site. 100% need to come over to Fife, definitely. I mean, one thing I did want to ask is, one of the many, you mentioned homebrewing at the start, Andrew. That's something that really intrigued me, because I know someone who said, I've started doing a homebrew. I'll take a bit of time, but I'll give you a shout when there's beers ready. I thought, all right, cool. Could you tell me a bit about the process of homebrewing, and one, how you get in it, and two, what the actual process is, how much space you need, how much equipment you need, materials, that sort of thing?
You can start homebrewing with relatively little equipment, just a pan on a hob and a small 5-gallon fermenter. If you're working with kits, I mean, there's plenty of good kits available from a plethora of homebrew websites and resellers online. If you want to go a little bit further and start doing it with grain and hops, it's a little bit more complex. But again, it's relatively easy equipment and simple equipment. You just need a boiler, really, something to heat water, and a lot of the small mash tuns that homebrewers use are actually made out of, coolers, icebox coolers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for a couple £100, you can get into it that way. There is also now, and has emerged over the past, I'd say 3 or 4 years, a lot of really good all-in-one systems. They're a bit more expensive. They cost about £1,000, but that'll just sit on your bunker in your kitchen, and you can do the whole shooting match in that. I mean, without naming names, there's quite a few big brands of those sort of systems, and quite a few smaller ones that specific retailers sell as well.
Yeah, and would you need a lot of expertise to buy one of these kits and then develop your own beer from it?
No. I mean, I know people who've done it. I mean, to give you a small anecdote, a friend of mine at my place where I used to work about 6 months ago bought one of them and brewed his first beer, which was a wheat beer.
Yeah.
It was a wheat beer, and he brought me in a bottle, and it was like, Jesus. If my first beer was as good as that, I'd have been well chuffed. It was really quite an accomplished beverage.
Brilliant.
I like that. I love that idea of doing that. I mean, I don't know if I could ever convince my girlfriend to. We've got quite a small kitchen, giving up what is probably going to be about a quarter of the kitchen to get some beers. And that might not. You never know.
They're only there for brew day. You do it for the afternoon and pack it away in a cupboard.
You have a fantastic shed that needs converted in your new home. So Ewan's recently moved house, and he has quite a nice house, to say the least, and he's got a lovely bit of space out the back. So
that shed, well, I was told it was a shed that was kind of falling apart, in all honesty. That shed have been on you go, and the cogs started turning. I was like, hey, could I make a bar out of this? Let me see here. And then, so as soon as summer comes around, we'll get that going. So I did want to speak about summer, particularly in relation to the lager, which I'm going to go run and get from the fridge in a moment. When it comes to summer, do you guys find that beer sells better, whether it be through festivals or just, barbecue season, people getting more beers from you?
Consistent all through
Yeah,
the year,
at the moment we're finding that we're very consistent, which perhaps might be because we're at the moment almost at capacity with the amount that we can make.
Yeah.
So we see consistent sales during sort of all through the year, but you do sometimes see more of the lager and the sort of lighter IPAs in the summer, the mini kegs of the Baby Badger and lager barbecue season, that they're really popular.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Stout at that sort of time, that seems to be more like of a winter sort of Christmas beer. But we do, once you've got a diehard stout drinker on your team, then you can sell that all year round as well. We've got a couple.
Yeah, well, at this rate, I could well be getting that 80 shilling one for barbecues this summer, if you count that as a dark beer.
if you ever need someone to test it, I'm fairly local. Just saying, I'm only 10 minutes in the car maximum. So anyway, I just thought I'd chance my luck there. Sorry.
Okay, so we're back from a very brief beer stop. I've got the Coul Lager this time, which we were just speaking about again. Really cool labelling. Percentage is it 4.4? That's quite strong for a lager.
Yeah.
I like it. It's like you can picture yourself standing at a barbecue with that. It's just like a really crisp, fresh lager. It's perfect. That's the personification of lager.
Shooting for a more German style lager there, and I think it's turned out quite well. It's quite crisp. There's a little bit of aroma hops. Yeah, it's good. It's a good little lager. I like it.
Yeah, really like that. So one thing that I definitely caught my eye when I looked on the website, and I thought, I wonder how big an event I'd need to justify this. So on your website, I noticed that what you can get is we'll call it a bespoke service, where you guys will work with a customer to create a bespoke beer for them. The example it gives is like for a wedding or something. You need to tell me about that. Definitely.
Yes. So we decided to offer a bespoke brewing service where, like, if you are having an event, if you want something special, you can come to us. We can do like a fully bespoke beer with your own recipes, or if you're just wanting beer for a wedding with your own special labels, that's something we can do. But usually for sort of where you want something a bit more special, something a bit personalised, it really does sort of depends on the sort of event and the sort of the size and things that you're looking for. It's a lot harder to do with a lot smaller numbers, but we're really keen to work with people. Also, if say you're a home brewer, you've just started, you've got you've started with the kits, or you've got a very small setup, and you want something a bit bigger. You've developed your own recipe. It's something we can offer. We can brew sort of something like a one-off on our big kit for you. Do 500, 600 bottles of your recipe that you can have. We never expected to be this busy this quickly, so it's not something that we have a for at the moment, but it is something hopefully when we expand we'll be able to push a lot more as well.
I think it's a great idea. I would, if I was getting married, that's probably one thing I'd get a say over to start with. However, it's the one thing I'd be all for. I mean, imagine helping design your own beer. And one thing a friend of mine spoke about, mentioned this briefly last week, is they went to a sort of workshop where you got to design your own beer.
Yeah.
But she said, I wanted it to be fruity. And so I said, for example, could I bring in tangerines? And they went, to be honest, the amount of fruit you need to get the flavouring from the fruit into the beer is completely disproportionate. Huge amounts of the fruit. It works out really costly for that reason. I hadn't a clue about that. It's knowing the amounts you need to influence the flavours. That has to be a bit of trial and error, I suppose.
I'm not going to lie, in my excitement to open my baby badger, I ripped out the cable for my lighting, so anyone who's watching us on YouTube will get to experience me pretending that didn't happen. So
I did wonder, I thought, well, it's not a power cut because the camera's still on.
Anyway, no, I was just excited to get in my baby badger, so I thought I'll start ripping out lights like a madman. So
yeah, I think the whole bespoke brewing thing, it's because of the size we are. You could go to a 20-barrel brewery or a 10-barrel brewery, which is still, a microbrewery, but one batch is, 5,000 bottles of beer. You couldn't really buy that in a Warner, but because of the size we are, the maximum we can brew is about 650 bottles at a time. So, that is, catering for a wedding-size batch. So, those sort of things. So.
That's a bit more of a personal number, for someone turning up saying, I want to make my own beer and I want a decent amount of it. 500-600 is a good number, whereas if you're going 5,000-6,000, that might be overkill for a wedding. I mean, that would probably cover the honeymoon.
I was going to say, Ewan, if we ever kick off in the way that we hope, that might be our first investment. the time in beer.
Didn't tempt me.
I know.
Because I'll be like, I would like it a bit more like this just to get another batch, and then next thing you know, they've got that shed we're talking about just becomes a block of beer, like 5,000 bottles crammed into it. Can see me getting evicted if I do that. So let's move on to the quick-fire question. I say quick-fire-ish because we've never done a quick-fire round that's actually been quick-fire, because usually answers lead to questions, if we're being honest. So,
no, you don't need a buzzer.
Well, what we did do...
Oh, no, don't. Well, actually, no, because the cool guys, I think, are actually quite big Star Wars fans, so you could tell them this, because a lot of your photos... You can tell there's a lot of Star Wars influence. Like, I've seen a lot of Stormtrooper heads and stuff on.
If I could carry the laptop next door, you'd be in for a treat. Hang on, I'll go and do it because I think you'll enjoy it.
Oh my god! See if this is a lightsaber or a Darth Vader helmet.
Yeah, just you wait. Hang on.
I'm so excited.
We're getting the tour now.
Right.
Oh my god! What?
I'm impressed. Wow. That's Millennium Falcon and everything.
Right, let's see how I can do the roof. Hang on.
Holy shit. Ewan's... I don't know if I can say this in this episode, but Ewan is excited.
You absolutely can, and it's true. The desk just lifted 6 inches looking at that ceiling. Wow.
To give you guys some understanding, we've got good mates in the States who are called Pod Wars, who are the biggest Star Wars podcast. And that way,
to the shelf of helmets.
Oh my god, look at that.
We interviewed them again recently, and we absolutely love doing stuff with them. They would be amazed by this.
Can we get a deal here? If I do end up filling my shed with 5,000 bottles of beer and my girlfriend tells me to move out, can I come and stay in that room?
I'm sure we could do something for you. Hang on,
Oh wow. I mean, I consider myself quite. I would say above average Star Wars fan. I've got my lightsaber. Thought it was pretty cool. That is.
Yes,
Wow.
so my dad is a big fan, so he has got all the ones on the roof were the Force Effect lightsabers. The ones sort of on the wall are the Solari sabers, the sort of more combat style ones. You can actually use them and hit them off things. And then he's got a lot of the Black Series figures, the helmets. He's also got Stormtrooper armor, so he likes to go to Comic Cons dressed up in the Stormtrooper
sometimes
suit.
you see him at beer festivals with
Is he busy next week?
I was going to say, you guys have done the impossible. You have made us stop talking about beer.
I know. I mean,
If anyone ever got a delivery on May the 4th, he turned up in his Stormtrooper helmet to all the doors.
You can get that right down. Get that right down. May the 4th, mate. That's the next order.
I'm getting an order now. When you see the note of a dodgy email address, like, must come on May the 4th, you'll know exactly who it is. Definitely. Oh, I love that so much. I mean, I'm completely distracted now. Like, what I was going to say was we've got these friends in the States who are they host a great show, and they get on a lot of people who are involved in the Star Wars movies. Well worth a listen, Pod Wars, if you're wondering what it is. And we do a quiz. So they're supposed to be Star Wars experts, and our other co-host isn't here this week because he's a filthy cider drinker.
Yeah, we don't want him. We don't want him on. We don't want him on.
It was busy this week for what it's worth. Yeah, so what we've done was to do a knowledge quiz. So our host against their hosts to see if we can out-knowledge them on Star Wars. And you have to come up with a buzzer. So he always went with the Chewbacca noise just to sort of intimidate them, like, I know my stuff. So, I mean, buzzers would be a good idea, but it's one of these quizzes where it would just be interesting to hear your answer on both. It's not necessarily a knowledge quiz. What I was going to say was, if you could add a beer to the Coul Brewing range, effort and resources aside, obviously, what kind of beer would it be? Not including those that are in the pipeline, I suppose.
Oh, there's so many to choose from. I think what I've always wanted to try and do is a pistachio pale ale.
Oh,
Ooh.
Stop teasing me, Andrew.
Do those exist already? I've never even heard of that before.
I've never seen one. And
No.
nuts tend to generally go in stouts, but I think the flavour would work well in a pale ale. Like a hazy pale.
Yeah. I could see that. Yeah, what about you, Robin?
I'm not sure. I'm more of a sort of cocktail drinker, to be honest. So something I would like to see is more of a
Porn Star Martini beer.
No, I would like to see more beer cocktails. That's something.
Oh no, I'm having flashbacks.
No snake bites. Don't worry.
No. I'm not even going to lie to you. I done a presentation at Diageo's head office in London, right, to about 300 people, and everybody was presenting on brands, and obviously Diageo's a massive portfolio. Me being me, I done a presentation on Guinness cocktails, and there was Guinness Martinis, obviously espresso martini.
Trojan horse. Drunks we are.
Put it this way, the feedback wasn't good because I also allowed people to trial it because I do a little bit of mixology. I'm nothing serious, but I actually made them up and let people try them, and yeah, the feedback wasn't great, to be honest. So
you're just drinking the wrong ones. I had a Monaco. They're quite nice.
They're quite nice,
What kind of Monaco?
Like a lager shandy with
It's what
grenadine.
the French drinkers instead of shandy. It's half lager, half lemonade, and a shot of grenadine. It's really nice.
It's really nice summery.
Sounds nice. Yeah. I mean, on the note of beer cocktail hybrids, I suppose this is a question. If you could combine any type of beer with any type of cocktail, what would it be? Because as Craig knows, I'm partial to a mojito. I love a wee mojito. A mojito, and I'm picturing something refreshing like a pale ale, so like a minty pale ale or a minty blonde ale in my head.
It'd be strange.
Why not? Strange, but I think it would be nice.
Have you tried the 71 large Hadron Collider?
I've never even heard of that. I've heard of the Hadron Collider, but not the beer.
71
Hadron
room.
Collider, it's a pina colada beer.
Oh, right. 2 seconds to write this down.
It's quite pleasant. They used to do it. I'm not sure if they're still making it, but yeah, large Hadron Collider.
Quite like something like a kind of like a Sex on the Beach wheat beer. That sort of
Ooh.
kind of orangey, cranberry, in a sort of wheat beer. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Right, that.
Yep, here we go. Wheat beer.
Brainstorming here.
Another one I've had that's quite nice that I've tinkered with is there's a Tia Maria Imperial White Stout. So it's like a stout.
That's strange.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's it's strong. It's about 6%. It's got the mouthfeel of like a Guinness or a stout like that, but it's the colour of a lager. It's flavoured with coffee as well, and things like that. So it tastes like Tia Maria.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
White Russian
Yeah,
vibes.
kind of white Russian vibes.
Yeah. What about you, Craig?
Me being me, I'm really born old-fashioned with a stout.
That seems
Not
doable.
a classic.
An old classic sort of stout variant. That's doable, surely. That's got to be doable.
That has to be one of my bugbears with beer. I mean, if you look at all the beer, this is one of the reasons I'm trying to get into stouts and porters and stuff. When you see the most creative beers, the most out there flavours, they're typically with a heavy. Oh, I completely forgot. Tropical Smoothie. Is it Cloudwater that do that, or is
Not
it
that one. No.
Northern Monk? I think it's Northern Monk Tropical Smoothie IPA. That's one of my favourites, and in my head, that's a cocktail and a beer mashed together. It's so smooth. You could drink gallons of that stuff just thinking it's fruit juice and that it's good for you.
We need to do a trade, right? I'll come up, I'll bring up all my spirits. I'll make you some crazy cocktails and you guys fill me with beer. I think that is a good trade.
Sure, we can arrange that.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good trade.
Some recipes, we'll put them in cans.
Oh wow! Because like I was going to ask, I know Ewan's got some other questions, but for me, kind of out with beer, have you got any sort of spirits you really enjoy? So, for example, last year, I think I maybe stole one of Ewan's questions. Sorry, Ewan.
You did, no, but it's perfect because we always look for a smooth transition. It's very rarely actually happen.
Yeah, we're still not professional at this whatsoever. But
You could have filmed this.
you're too generous. You're too nice. I absolutely love mezcal. Like I don't know where mezcal's been all my life. I've only recently been in it. So it's like a variant in tequila.
Yeah.
It's quite similar to tequila. I just absolutely adore it. See, for example, something as simple. See, mezcal and tonic as a combination. I just absolutely adore it, and I love playing about like sweet and salty flavours with it. But I was just going to say, if you guys got any spirits that you really enjoy, maybe a spirit you'd maybe think about making in the future, or
You do have a toffee vodka, don't you?
We don't
We
make
make
it.
it,
We do just. We met the guy who makes it at a trade show, and they didn't have any suppliers up here, so we decided, well, we'll sort of sell it up here as a sort of like a northern base for him, which is good. Vodka would be my spirit of choice. But I'm also a fifer, so whatever is going free is also going free. If it's mezcal that you're offering me for free, then I'll have that. Tequila, I'll probably still will have it, but every time most of y'all know.
What sort of vodka? What sort of vodka do you enjoy? If you got any particular, or
I know there's not really. Crystal Head vodka is probably my favourite.
It's pretty cool.
And then I like a flavoured vodka. Who do a really nice one? Oh, what's her name? Carnoustie Distillery. They do a white chocolate vodka, which is really nice.
That'd be nice.
What's his name? Jory. I met him at the Boathouse, I think, and tried it there, and it was delicious. I'm quite a big fan of that.
well, what about you, Andrew?
I've always been partial to dark rum. I mean, I enjoy whiskey, but sometimes I find whiskey too peaty and smoky for me. But I think in good rums, dark rums, there's a breadth of flavour there, like there is in whiskey. That's so underrated. And some of the ones from the West Indies and around there, so there's some really in Cuba. There's some really nice flavoured dark rums.
There's two that you really need to look out for. They're not really in the dark range, but Bumbu is phenomenal. If you haven't tried Bumbu, it's quite heavily banana infused, and coffee. And the other one is the Diplomatico range, which is Venezuelan. Oh my god, that range is starting to become a bit more well known now, but it's absolutely phenomenal stuff. And big shout out to Crusoe Rum and Rum Borough if you guys are listening as well. Local
Dark
guys.
Matter as well.
Dark Matter, yeah, it's like Christmas cake almost.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Really?
I think if I was going to make a spirit though, the one I would like to do is obviously with a big tradition in distilling in Scotland, and working as a brewer with malt, the natural one for me is to use malt, not whiskey wise though, but to do a single malt Scottish vodka. I
Nice.
think the Americans would lap that up.
They would absolutely destroy that, wouldn't they?
Tell me an interesting one about. I don't know if I've told you this story, Craig. I think I've probably told you, but off camera, so it's a bit of a detour, but I'll tell you the story. So, my dad's side of the family comes from Thurso, right up at the north of Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go up, there's a small gin distillery, Rock Rose.
Yeah.
And I'm not into gin at all, but whole family went up. My girlfriend went up first time she'd been in Thurso, and we went and done the distillery tour. And we were pretty hungover, so you're going round, you can smell it the whole time. You've got a sore head, you're sweating, and then it comes to the taste, and you're like, and they've got one for each season. So the ingredients they use are based on what they can find locally that season. So I straight away, I thought, I love this. I'm going to try it, even if I'm rough as fuck. So I was trying it. I was looking at her, the sweat streaming down her face when she's drinking it, and that was the same. But what they had was they had a vodka. I was like, oh, thank fuck, no gin. And brought it out, and it's holy grass vodka. So they didn't think you got holy grass in, I don't know if it was the UK or Scotland anymore, and then they found it growing on the banks of the River Thurso, and so they started making this holy grass vodka. And then from there we tried it, and I was like, oh, this is actually, it's not as harsh as normal vodka, if you know what I mean. It was quite smooth. It was almost like you could drink it straight, and I know they do that in some countries such as like Poland and stuff. But we went back to the pub, and then we were getting all these cocktails with the holy grass vodka in it, and that was it. Straight back into the cycle and hung over again the next day. But I thought,
Just done again.
holy grass vodka, that was worth getting into a double dip hangover.
Oh dear.
So my next question, because I'm getting withdrawal symptoms from a day out drinking, and I had to ask, if you're on a day out, say you're going to multiple pubs, bars, and you're drinking beers all day, what is your ideal food with a beer?
Good question.
Ooh.
I'll give you an example. I'm picturing a certain day when we were sitting at the pub watching the football, Craig, with some friends.
No.
And you could order plates of 50 chicken wings. So 50 chicken wings, hot sauce, barbecue sauce, and then we were sharing the wings. I didn't eat 50 wings myself, don't worry. But it was like four of us, so when you're sharing it, it's not as bad.
Why not? You're not hungry, lad.
Listen, I can put away wings with the best of them. I reckon I made the most significant dent out of the four people there that day. But I reckon hot wings and barbecue wings as a starter, and then a burger as the main, just because really a burger you can hold with one hand and you can have the beer in the other hand. That's my logic behind it.
Or a rack of ribs and get really messy.
Oh, good. Then the bottle or the glass can slip out your hands. Oh, this is something else I've never told in person.
We were out watching the rugby. We were at Duke's in Dundee.
Yeah, that's right.
They had quite a good beer selection, and I'm quite partial to chips. Would be an understatement. So that would be mine. But
do you know what's funny? Can I disclose this, Robin? When I was doing a bit of research, and you guys obviously looking at Instagram, and I put in Coul Brewing as the search, and yours came up second, and on the tagline it says "lover of chips." Was the first thing I seen. It was the first thing I seen.
Chips. And everyone who was out with us when we were watching the rugby that day still make fun of me because I ordered a plate of chips with a side of chips. Because they did these, they called them pizza chips.
Right.
So there was like a bed of chips, then with like a sort of pizza tomato sauce on them, melted cheese and pepperoni, which is great, and I loved it. But sometimes I also just want chips with vinegar, and I couldn't put vinegar on pizza chips.
That's fair.
So I had to order a second side of chips to have with my plate of chips.
As much as he's not here today, Bundy, our third host, he is a potato enthusiast. He sends me weekly pictures of his potato dishes. I mean, he's got a strange diet. It's, in Elf, he's saying you have candy canes, candy corns, and so he's like that, but it's like potatoes, chips, waffles. Pasta. He still has chocolate and pasta, but it's pretty much just carbohydrates and vegetables he eats. If you could sit here and speak to him about chips all day long. In fact, we'll put him in contact with you, and you'll get daily pictures of chips he's made.
Chips are my favourite. That's probably the one thing I'd get a tattoo of. Just, I love parting chips.
I think chips are a good call because you can kind of snack away at them when you're having the beer.
They go with anything.
Chips and onion rings.
Oh yeah. Battered onion rings.
Doesn't matter
Nice
what beer
crafty
you're
ones.
drinking. That's the good thing about chips. You're having a lager, you can have some chips with some salad cream, you're having something fruity, you can have chips with something a bit spicy, a bit of relish. Chips are like universal food. You can pair them with anything.
True, very diverse food to have. Well, this is a tough one for you, Andrew. You're going to need to compete with chips here. I mean, that's had a perfect justification.
I still like my meaty things. Like I'm with you with the chicken wings or the ribs.
I don't want to answer now because mine seems really snobby.
See, wait 2 seconds, Craig. I had an absolute howler with ribs. So I didn't typically order ribs. If they were there, I would eat them, sort of thing. And I ordered ribs at a restaurant one night. Thankfully, I was with family, so no, they took the piss out of me a bit, but not too much. And it came out, and you know how you've got the wee dish of lemon water next to it. I thought, oh well, this is obviously a pour over the ribs. I was eating it. I was like,
this lemon soup is delicious.
it's like the lemon sauce doesn't go with the barbecue ribs. And my uncle was like, that's for washing your fingers. And I was like, you joking? He was like, no. I was like, oh, I've had an absolute stinker.
Oh, don't worry, you're not alone. I was on an airplane once, and they don't tell you that little pot of lemon water is not for drinking. It's for washing your fingers, but they didn't tell me that either.
People need to label this. I'm with you here, Robin, 100%. They need to start labelling
They do.
bowls that are for drinking and then or eating and bowls that are for wash. Wipes. Maybe some wipes or a squirty tube or something.
I mean the wipes.
Yeah, the Colonel had it right, didn't they? These little sachet wipes.
100%. Right, Craig, what's your ideal food to have with a beer?
No, because it sounds really shit now, to be honest.
It's going to be something really posh like a lobster thermidor or some crab legs.
I was talking.
I'm only taking this because they said they was eating crab the other day.
I had crab for lunch. I'm going up in the world, guys. But no, I really, really, really want to try a beer that has some sort of salty texture. Right? I want to have some sort of seaweedy, salty beer. I love, for example, what Talisker do with their whiskey. I love that whole by the sea sort of vibe. It's very much me. But for me, I would cheat. So I'd have something like oysters, which are a complete palate cleanser. And then I'd get everything from the beer. Do you know what I mean? Because it's kind of like the way in which wine pairs with food. I would much rather have something that's a complete, absolute palate cleanser than I can get everything from the beer. But that's a really shit answer compared to chips and wings.
Well, I mean, if you drink the lemon water, that's a palate cleanser. So technically, Andrew went the same thing with the ribs.
Right, okay, fair enough. But no, that's a really shitty answer. One of the things that I talk about beer, and it's that I don't think any alcohol is better for occasion. Beer is one of the things when you're having a few beers, it sets the occasion, it sets the mood. It's such a relaxing beverage, you know what I mean? There's no real pressure with it. So I think you can always go down the route of, like, nothing beats pizza and beer. You know what I mean? Fresh pizza and beer, it's just such a cool combination. Going away from my oyster route, which now sounds absolutely ridiculous, but hey-ho.
That made you sound really high end, Craig, to be fair.
I'm gonna get Tweed Jack out now, mate. I'm gonna put on and talk about the botanicals and gin and the carbonation and tonic and all this nonsense.
There's a style of beer for everything as well. You know, I mean, you get wine buffs that go on a lot about you know different flavours in wine, things like that. I sincerely believe there is more flavours in beer than there is in wines.
Yes.
I mean, right from your crisp lagers to your very, very thick, syrupy, dark Belgian beers, the different yeasts that are used. I mean, grapes just have one kind of yeast on their skin, but we've got saison yeast, sweet beer yeast that give banana and clove flavours, very dry, clean lager yeast, ale yeast, and then you've got the malts and all the different hops in there as well. There's so much variety of flavour.
I mean, particularly like when you get to stouts and you can get really out there flavours. That's why I want to get into stouts and porters, so you can try those, like Agato porter or Agato stout. That just sounds incredible to me.
Well, was it the honey glazed ham stout?
Honey glazed ham porter.
Oh, imagine that, a meaty beer.
There was some obscure things in it. What was there? There was the honey glazed ham was the one. Honey glazed ham porter that stood out, and then I think they had sort of slightly more traditional flavors in there. There was it was a sort of marshmallow something, and what was the other one? Irish cream stout, and it was something else. I don't know. I can't remember.
That's just too much Ireland, the sound of that.
I bought it for a Christmas present for someone. Because sometimes
you need to buy it.
fed up of you giving folk your own beer. After a while, they're like, "No, give me someone else." So I think that I bought that.
I would never complain about that. Let's get that straight in case any families listening. I will never complain if you buy me beer for Christmas, birthday, for absolutely anything. I'll just be like, oh, great, thanks. I mean, what you said there about the sort of out there ones, I know I'm an absolute sucker for it. Whenever we go on holiday, I think I need to try a few new beers. You're on holiday, it's another reason to drink a beer, you know. And you're out and you maybe look along the wall and you're like, a pineapple beer. You think, oh, that's a bit unusual. I've never had one. I need to fucking buy it now. I can't go on with the rest of my day not knowing what it will taste like, so I have to buy it. I'm an absolute sucker for that. When you see an unusual one, I think, even if I don't like it, I'll suffer a pint of it to at least know what it's like.
Get you.
We tried it then. Yeah.
It was the newest one, the Goose Island one that just came up. The limited edition cream egg.
What's the name of it again? It's got the most ridiculous. No, it's got the it's got the most ridiculous name.
Do something. Hang on.
I'm gonna Google this right now because it has the most ridiculous name.
I know. I signed up for the notification.
Cream egg beer that's getting ordered tonight.
I'd sent it to, we've got a little beer group chat, so I sent it to them and said, oh, look at this, looks ridiculous, and then proceeded to sign up for the notification for as soon as it came back in stock.
That's what I mean, that's how they get you. You think, well, I can't live my life not knowing what that tastes like, I have to try it.
Golden Jubilee, I think.
I know, I'm looking at it. It's to celebrate the Cream Egg's Golden Jubilee.
That was why it's got silly name.
Again, it sounds like I'm not the only one that looks for any excuse to drink beer.
If you see,
I thought that'd be ridiculous, and then thought, you know what, I'm just going to buy it just to see if it is as ridiculous as I thought it was.
See, if you've seen the colour of it, it's almost pure black. For anyone watching on YouTube, this is where I fail at editing on screen now.
And I'll that nice and not put something in on screen.
Once it happened. That is so weird. That is so weird. Sorry. Anyway.
I think I could get on board with that. I mean, it's chocolatey.
No,
you would think.
No, I couldn't.
Is it a porter or is it a?
The flavours in a cream egg do work well in stouts. It's chocolate and vanilla.
Why not? Why not?
Combinations for a stout.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather the cream egg.
I wanted to ask one last thing of you guys because this is probably more towards Craig's end, but it interests me. I listened to a podcast with a brewery.
Couldn't have been that interesting because you forgot everything about it.
Localish, but they were talking about having the option to have their products sold in a big chain. I think it was Aldi or Lidl, and they said the balance against keeping it local. And they said when you're selling it local, it could have been, for example, I think they said £4 a bottle. When it goes to Aldi, they're selling it for £2 a bottle, and almost they were really getting out there. They had a huge reach, but they had almost no profit per bottle. And they were saying that it's good getting your beer out there, more people getting good beer, but it loses something when you get to that. And I think they lose a bit of creative control over the actual beer that's made. How do you guys feel towards that?
Not something we've been approached by, but our views are similar. I mean, you've got to sell. I mean, they're expecting volume at low price, and really that goes against our business model and our appeal, really, which is small batch exclusivity. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, like any other business, you would love to be that busy, but we know ourselves that we couldn't possibly make it in the volumes that Aldi or Lidl would want it, or at that price, really, at the size that we are. It's important for us, sort of as a small business, that, you know, obviously as a business to make money, but we do want to offer quality products at an affordable price to our consumer. And starting to go to larger, bigger chains like that is probably something we couldn't do at the size we are.
Yeah. No, that's understandable. I mean, personally, if I've got the choice between going to a supermarket and picking up some beers or finding something locally like yourselves, or we've spoken about a few examples before, Craig, I would always rather go local, try that brewery's range of beers, because 9 times out of 10 you get something different, something that you've never tried before. And you go to the supermarket, let's be honest, everybody's been out of the pubs for about a year now. We've all tried pretty much everything in the supermarket at this point, and it's all okay. You might find the odd one that sticks out and it's quite good, but even when you go to a supermarket and you're looking at the craft beer, it's quite expensive and it's per bottle. You can't like buy a case of it. Because you've got a local brewery and you're getting the same kind of great quality beer, but you can get 12 of them in one go. That for me swings it. Go local, find a local brewery, get the beer for there.
See, I would say one of the good things about lockdown, the COVID scenario, is that people are starting to learn the importance of local produce, local brewery. Like the business that I'm now working for is madness, the growth that they've had. And people are now asking about local products, and it's like for us, like where I work now, is that we didn't stock anything out with Fife for alcohol. And I tell you one thing, I have never had, obviously I stay near the guys, but I have never had a brewery deliver to my house and take a contactless payment there, and then have one of their colleagues sit and speak to me about beer for half an hour, like in such a professional manner. Like, you will not get that by going into Aldi's and paying a silly price for beer and then no margin going back to the brewer who's put the heart and soul into it. You'll never get that. There's such a nice feeling of buying from someone direct. It's
all the money's going to the brewery and it's getting fed back in, you know.
It's really cool.
It's important for us, for consumers, to know that, you know, see, we're real people. You can chat to us, you know. If you don't know what to get someone, send us an email, give us a message on Facebook. We're happy to try and advise you, find out, you know, if it's a gift, what do they normally drink, what do they like. We'll usually always try and go out of our way if you need it delivered on a certain date, if you want a birthday card, just sort of like little things like that. And, you know, you want to chat at the door, or, you know, if something, you know, something hasn't worked quite right, or you just weren't a fan of that, then, you know, it's things we can try and rectify. You know, we're not a corporation. You're not talking to a robot. You're not having to, you know, stay on the line and try and talk to an agent who's in another country. You know, we're just down the road. We are approachable, and that's what's really important to us, is that, you know, we're
Customer oriented.
We're here for the customers. We make our beer because we like it, but we also want you to like it. And it's building that relationships with customers. We've seen a lot lately. A lot more sort of people wanting to really support local, especially at the moment. People aren't going to the shops as much as they used to, and they're trying to look at more delivery services from local businesses. And we've seen a great deal of support from people, even, you know, a couple of streets down. Go, oh, I never knew there was a brewery in Glenrothes. So it's, you know, I got a gift pack for my Christmas, and I really liked it, so I want to buy more. It's that sort of organic growth from really sort of customer driven that's important to us.
Yeah, from word of mouth largely, you know. I've tried this beer, it's great, I'm going to get more. You tell one of your friends, and honestly, I think see when barbecues properly kick off again, I could go like that, because when you go to a barbecue, you either get a keg or you've got a couple of boxes of beer. And this is how we do it. And then a few of your friends come through and try a beer. Where's this for? I'm going to get some of that. Everybody's pissed. You think, right, I'm going to go online, order a box of 12 before I forget the name of it. We've all done it, you know.
Mini kegs of lager like that.
Yeah, we had a nice artistic Facebook photo of one of our kegs, and then our Friday orders went sort of through the roof. So that was out on Saturday morning, getting them all out before the sun went.
Somebody bought one at a barbecue. They all tasted it, and 10 minutes later, they all ordered one.
And I think that's a testament to how good the beer actually is. Because if people taste it and instantly go, "I'm getting some of that," that's a sign that you're onto something good. 100%.
I think it's just so cool, certainly for myself, a wee bit different to you. It's so cool to have such a good quality product local. It is such a cool scenario, because there's a few guys local that make gin and rum and this sort of thing, and they're doing really well. But I've never really seen a range as a whole have such a point of difference. So you are doing a great job, and it's just been awesome to have you guys on to talk about some awesome beer with some really nice people as well.
Definitely.
Thank you for having us. And obviously, once we're allowed, we'd love to get you up to the brewery. You can sample things direct from the tank, so for their bottles, get into that stage.
I'll be lying underneath the tap.
No, because then he has to stay at mine.
Emperor's fresh from a different animal.
Oh, I don't.
Yes. I mean, I as Craig said, huge thank you to you guys for coming on, and anyone who's listening. You can listen for this, you can watch this, you know they're friendly, approachable, knowledgeable, and they make fucking good beer. And not only if you're local to Fife, if you go into the Coul Brewing website, there's a map that shows you stockist, is that the term?
Stock lists.
Stockist.
Stock lists, whatever you want to call it, yeah.
Where they are throughout Scotland, so you can see if there's somewhere local to you that does them, or go on the website. There wasn't one local to me, I was very sad, but you can get them delivered. Literally anyone in Scotland can get them, so I would highly recommend it to anyone who likes beer. Definitely. So thank you guys for coming on. We'll of course have links to the website below. I think it's fair to say we recommend this beer, Craig.
It's terrible. That's why I've drank 2 bottles already. No, I've honestly.
Have you drank 2? What's the run in total since you got it midweek?
I've got, what did I buy? 12. I've got 4 left.
You needed to do the research. I'll let him off.
I've drank them before. That's the bad thing, Robin. So my dad bought me a mixed case for Christmas. I've bought all the bottles, not only at my work, but I've bought them at shows and stuff as well. So it's research I really didn't need to do. But no, it is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. And one thing I'll say, buy a mixed case. Because do not go down the route of, I'm a lager drinker, I need to buy lager. Buy a mixed case, trial and error, work out what other flavours you might like. Honestly, it's like, before we finish, and I'm going to try not go into a tangent, it's like, do you know when you take your kids to a sweet shop and like, oh, I want sweeties. That's what being a grown adult is. That's one of the few good things we have in life, is that when you go and you get to go and cherry pick all your beers, it's such a great thing. And it was like, honestly, it was like Christmas when I opened that box. I was like, there's one there, I've got my stouts, I've got this. Do you know what I mean? It's really cool. So if you are purchasing, guys, please try the range as a whole. Don't just go for the safe option.
I mean, as somebody who was a dirty lager heathen at one point, all I drank was lager. The abuse from Craig and my dad and other friends kind of wore me down to the mixed case that you guys do. I find your range was quite good. See, if you start at the lager, there's a lot of lighter drinks and then mid-range drinks, so it's quite a nice transition to work your way up. And then the Shilling Ale, you say that yourself, Robin, that's the perfect, I love the term, a perfect gateway beer and a darker beer. I couldn't agree more with that. Definitely. Oh, thank you guys so much for coming on. Anything you want to say to anyone?
No, just thanks for having us. It's been really good just having a chat and getting to know you two guys and having a spraff about beer.
Brilliant, man.
I'll never say no to a chat about beer. Tell you that for nothing. 100%. Always happy to talk about it and sit and have one. Definitely. Well, thanks for coming on, guys. We'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Andrew and Robin, tell us the best beer from your range to have before fighting off the local swans.
Strongest bloody beer you can find if it's those swans.
I think that's a fair call.